This is normally the part of the program where I say, hey, listen, we're going to be talking about wide receivers tonight. We're going to be talking about defense tonight and a little bit about the Georgetown Tigers, too. Preseason ranking. We even have a top 10 list when it's all said and done. I get to lead, however, with the fact that one of our indoor animals, a cat that is this big at least, who has found his way into some volleyball videos lately, found his way into the computer tonight, and broadcast computer had to be shut down, restarted. It took a little while, but we're glad to be live and on the air tonight. So where I normally say, hey, listen, if you have been watching this and you made it all the way to the end, you're a trooper. If you stuck with us as we have gotten on the air tonight, you're a trooper as well. Joey McWilliams with you here. College football this week on Midwest Sportsnet. Glad to be with you tonight or whenever you happen to be watching this. So let's go ahead and get things underway. Let's look, as there have been a couple of preseason rankings that have come out since the last time that we had a chance to visit. So let's go ahead and look at those right now. The Frontier West and East, the Frontier Conference. The coaches poll has shown us this, that in the West, it's going to be Montana Western at the top of the preseason poll, and Southern Oregon right behind them. Montana Western, I believe, was 6 of the 7 first-place votes there. College of Idaho and then Carroll, Eastern Oregon, Arizona Christian, Simpson after that. Pretty much how we thought it might have shaken out. I think that I might have switched Carroll and College of Idaho there. We'll see how it all plays out, though. And it's Montana Tech and Dickinson State atop the Frontier East. Really no surprise there, I think, at all. And I think it shakes out the way that you might think some of the North Star teams coming in, the teams that were already in the Frontier Conference getting a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, except Dickinson State, who, brings in 10 consecutive conference championships with them. So no surprise really there. How about the Mid-States Football Association? The Midwest, Marion at the top there, St. Francis, Indiana, right behind Marion, the Knights there at the top. And you look over and see St. Xavier, Olivet Nazarene, and St. Francis, Judson in the Mideast. Indiana Wesleyan picked once again to take the Mideast title. Again, probably not a surprise. Taylor in that number 2 spot coming off the fantastic season in 2024. Siena Heights, the swan song year, picked 3rd there, and we'll see how the Saints shake things out. Lawrence Tech, Defiance, and Madonna. Casey, let's go ahead and throw that one up there really quickly. Mayville State dominating the chat of late. The Comets, 1 week away, and you know what? It is just that. Lots on the line in week 1, and we'll talk about a few of those things later. Let's look. I think that, yes, there was one more today. As a matter of fact, it came out today. The Sooner Athletic Conference with its preseason ranking. Texas Wesleyan, really no surprise there at the top. OUAZ right behind them. Langston in 3rd there. Texas College picked 4th, and it's been a while since Texas College has been favored that highly in a preseason poll. Louisiana Christian, and that rounds out the top 5 there. Still, I go back to what we talked about a week and a half or so ago on the forum. I think there's a tier 1 in the Sooner Athletic Conference, Texas Wesleyan, OUAZ. Not going to sleep on Langston. Never sleep on Langston. Don't do that. Or Texas College. And again, I think Wayland Baptist could make some noise this year, but someone's going to have to step up and see if they can knock either the Rams or the Spirit out of those top 2 spots there. So look at the preseason rankings. A little bit of an abbreviated show tonight, part of it due to technicality, but we're getting ready for the week ahead. And you know what? We'll talk a little bit more about that as we goes on. All right. Offense is a big deal. And there are a number of teams, I believe, that are going to have some pretty effective years once again. I mean, when you talk about offense, in the NAIA, regularly Morningside comes up. Man, what an offense that the Mustangs have had just perennially. I think the last 10 years, it goes beyond that. But you want to talk about in a 10-year stretch, I mean, Morningside's offense has been incredible. But lost in the shuffle in that, often with Morningside, when you talk about the offense again and again and again, and players of the year again and again, and quarterbacks and receivers and all this that you see from Morningside, sometimes the defense gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. So I wanted to ask the question then, who has a defense that's going to show up big this year? I think there are a number of teams that have that already out there that you can look at and say, this is a team that has a defense that can show up. And if the defense shows up, it's going to go a long way toward this team making some noise over the course of the season in 2025. Let's start with Grandview. And why not? You have to. Defending national champions, Grandview's offense, Jackson Waring, NAIA Player of the Year. No doubt that he is going to bring a lot to the table, but that defense last year was just stellar. It was incredible. 8.4 points per game. That's all the Vikings gave up on defense last year. That was tops in the NAIA. And it was a defense that, even though, often when a team excels in one area on offense, you see a defense that can excel to combat it from their opponents. Jackson Waring can throw the ball incredibly well. We know he has legs too, no doubt. He's definitely a dual threat. But the Grandview offense, even though it's a great offense and the passing yards are there, the defense was there as well. Grandview giving up only 146.9 passing yards. That was fourth in the NAIA last year. Now, the Vikings lose John Argo. That's a big loss because he was an incredible player on the defensive side. Cade Sheedy, though, one of those other linebackers, he returns. You have Jackson Filer on the defensive line there. What a rusher he is from that defensive end category or position there. And they're reloading some in the secondary, no doubt. But Kellen Moore is going to return as well. No, not that Kellen Moore. This is where I am in life. I think about Kellen Moore. I still think Boise State, some Dallas Cowboys quarterback. He was the offensive coordinator for a long time too. Now Saints head coach. No, not that Kellen Moore. I think we're going to mention his name a few times here over the course of the season for Grandview. So the Vikings have a solid defense returning. We go from the Heart. Let's go over to the GPAC. Dort. The defenders have absolutely lived up to their names. They have been stellar on defense. They lose a lot from last year, though. That's one of the things. And in visiting with Coach Penner, that he talked about the fact that yes, they lose 8 starters from defense last year, but it's also one of those things too. You don't know what you have sometimes as backups because the starters do so well, and you didn't know that you had some of the best backups in the country. I think Coach Penner knows he had some of the best backups in the country, and he's excited about what Dort brings to the table on the defensive side. Even though they lost so many to graduation and eligibility, and they're not thinking they're going to give up anything at all. This defense gave up only 12.2 points per game. That's fifth in the NAIA last year. And you look back to even one of the losses. Dort was 8-2. One of 3 teams in the GPAC that was 8-2 last year. One of the losses was to Northwestern, and Dort gave up only 3 points in that game. Obviously, quick math on that one, had to score 2 or less, and the offense, well, actually, neither side of the ball was able to put points on the board, offense, defense, neither one, but gave up only 3 points to Northwestern in that loss. Dort returns with a solid defense in 2025, and if everything works out and the offense is able to put points on the board when they need to, that's a defenders team that could be looking to make some noise in November and beyond. Moving from the GPAC, let's go over to the Mid-South. Georgetown, we'll talk about them a little bit later on, but it's a defense that definitely has potential. And Coach Oliver moves into the director of athletics role, a role that he held along with head coach last year, steps out of the head coaching role. John Perrin, the former defensive coordinator, steps into the head coaching role, but he's elevated 3 of the coaches that were with him along the way last year on the defensive side of the ball, brings them up, and he's already said he's still going to have a lot to say about that defense this year. I think the Tigers are strong on defense, and again, we'll mention the Tigers a little bit later on. This is a team that can make some noise. How about in the Sun? Southeastern. Wow. Southeastern really, really close to that playoff spot last year. I know Fire fans are probably still fired up about that. Brady Nolan back at linebacker. And Southeastern is one of only 3 teams in the NAIA last year to give up less than 100 rushing yards per game. Actually, second in that category, 94.9 rushing yards per game. They know how to run the ball. Coach Watt does a great job. Coach Henry on defense, he leads them out there. And this is a defense for Southeastern that has been consistent and is getting consistently better. And don't forget, there was only one team in all of last season that put more than 2 touchdowns on the board against Southeastern. And it wasn't Kaiser, and it wasn't St. Thomas. Actually, it was Ave Maria. They scored 21 in a loss to Southeastern. The Fire held the Seahawks. The Fire held the Bobcats, the 2 teams that came out of the Sun Conference into the playoffs, to just 2 touchdowns. So this is defense. If the offense is there, and I know it's going to look a little bit different coming into 2025 than what it was last year when your quarterback makes the move and heads over to Kansas Wesleyan. Things are going to look a little different, but the offense will have the defense definitely putting things in position there. Let's go on over to the Frontier. I ask you this about the Frontier regarding defense. If you look at the current roster of 14 teams now in the Frontier Conference, which one of those teams do you think was at the top of the list, at least conference-wise, in holding opponents down in points per game? The top team in the current Frontier roster from last year in defensive points per game, in holding their opponents down, held their opponents to just 15.8 points per game. That was 9th in the NAIA. That's Dakota State, one of the new members into the Frontier Conference. And you might have thought it would have been, someone like a Carroll or a College of Idaho, a strong team, a Montana Tech like that, a strong team on defense. It actually was Dakota State. So the Trojans bringing a strong defense into the conference, they're a dark horse team as far as I'm concerned, and I think they could still make some noise in the Frontier East. Davion Moses back at defensive back. We've talked about him and what he brings to the table, and he has a lot of help. Cole Paulson, Terrence Sir, both coming back to head up that linebacker room as well. The Trojans are going to be, I believe, in good shape defensively to help the team make some noise in 2025. So 5 teams that we look at and say, okay, it's not all about the offense. I remember the commercials with a couple of Atlanta Braves pitchers in them, and they were so frustrated because nobody talked about the pitchers. All they wanted to talk about the offense, and the great phrase, chicks dig the long ball, talking about home runs. Well, the solid offense, it's going to get a lot of attention, but I think the defense steps up for those teams and maybe a few more. Midwest Sportsnet, home of college football this week. I am so thankful that you are here tonight. If you're watching us live, and I already had a chance to see Dave and Casey with some noise there in the chat, go ahead and let us know from where you're watching tonight. I really appreciate that. Listen, we're thankful for you being a part of this community, and I mean that sincerely. I can't have a show without a community like you, and getting to see you all and visit with you all coming on and the chat like that. So thank you so very much for being a part of it. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would encourage you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. We're trying to push toward another milestone mark there, and to do that, we need a few more subs. So please go ahead and take the time to subscribe to Midwest Sportsnet tonight. All right, hypothetically speaking, I said I was going to talk about Georgetown. Hypothetically speaking, what if Georgetown wins the Mid-South title again? What does that mean? I think it does mean a few things. So let's talk about that, because it wasn't a pick that I've seen universally. In watching some NAIA coverage for the forum the other night, there were 4 of us on here. Only one picked Georgetown to win the Mid-South. I know I picked Campbellsville. I think Georgetown's there. I honestly believe if Campbellsville does win the Mid-South title and gets the AQ there to the football championship series, I think Georgetown's still going to make it. I think Georgetown's going to make the playoffs for a 3rd year in a row. But again, 3 of the 4 of us on the forum picked a team other than Georgetown. And that seems a little odd, because the Tigers are coming off back-to-back wins, not only of the conference itself, but going undefeated through conference play. 6-0 each of the last 2 seasons in the Mid-South. And this is a team that won 2010 to 2012, 2015, 2016. Then there's a 7-year gap, and then again 23 and 24. Now, Georgetown with some titles to its credit here in this century, and so it's a team really that, in the last 25 years has made some noise. But to think maybe somebody might get the better of them after coming off of 12 consecutive league victories. If Georgetown does win, I think there are some things that come into play. Number one, Garrick Sloanaker has another great year. The offense, I think, is going to step up, and Sloanaker is going to be doing Garrick Sloanaker things. He leads the team well. I have used the term, and for those of you who are Garrick Sloanaker fans, I hope not to make this sound disparaging. I've said he's managed the offense. He leads the offense well. He is a good leader for the team. According to coaches that have talked about him over the course of the last couple of years, he does well. So I don't mean that manages in any kind of disparaging term. His numbers may not be the same as, say, a Jackson Waring or a Jackson Dooley or some of these other quarterbacks, Michael Palandry, that we talk about, but all he does is win. And so if Georgetown wins the Mid-South again, that goes a long way. Oh, and by the way, there's this guy named Darius Neal who's coming back again. How many coaches across the Mid-South or fans across the Mid-South have to go, really? Darius Neal, really? Again? And he's back for one more year. So that's going to make that offense strong. Luke Olive, tight end, coming back for his 5th season as well. So this could be a big year for Georgetown offensively. Defensively, we just mentioned there. And it's a defense that gave up some points last year in the non-conference portion of the schedule. So you before you get to the Mid-South, the defense gave up some points to Montana Tech, gave up some points to Pikeville, gave up some points to Reinhardt. And again, Reinhardt last year didn't make the playoffs, 9 consecutive years before that. Pikeville makes the playoffs. Montana Tech really close to the playoffs. Henchman 21, who has crept into the chat right now, I know thinks they'll be there again, and that likely is the case. Oh, and by the way, Alabama A&M, a Division I opponent. So, yeah, Georgetown gave up some points then, but after that, really locked in on defense. Getting into Mid-South play, gave up only 11.5 points per game through those 6 games. All of them were victory. So it's a defense that's there, and as Henchman 21 mentions in the chat, let me go ahead and throw that one up there. Chad Holleran, big shoes to fill. Absolutely. That's a big-time situation there. But it's something that I think the opportunities there. Linebacker room still looks solid. Bryson Huddleston, Clayton Melcher, TJ Buckman on the linebackers. They've got help up front on the line. Solid defensive line, too. The defense, I think, can make some noise again. So if Georgetown does win the Mid-South title again in 2025, strong offense, solid defense that makes noise, I think, throughout the country. And what also it means is it's another AQ. That would be the 25th time that Georgetown has made the NAIA football championship series. There's a nice round number for you, 25. They made 24 right now, tied for 3rd among current NAIA programs in NAIA FCS, whole lot of initials there, playoff appearances. 24th, tied with Carroll at 24 right now. That's behind Dickinson State at 25 and Northwestern with 26. Again, current NAIA football teams. But there was a little stretch in which Georgetown didn't make the playoffs. As a matter of fact, prior to 23, they made it only 2 times in 8 years. And so the Tigers, maybe in a little bit of a rough spot right there. I realize for a lot of teams, 2 times in 8 years isn't bad. For Georgetown, man, that's, shut down the program. We got to figure this thing out. But in 23, you make the playoffs in AQ, an automatic qualifier. 24, you make the playoffs, get the AQ there as well, winning the Mid-South title. If Georgetown wins the Mid-South title once again, that's number 25. They've made 18 of the last 27 years, made it to the playoffs. A 19th time here in this century. It's pretty cool. So it means a lot for Georgetown to win. I think it means a lot that people might be doubting them just a little bit. And I want to clarify. I don't think it's as much doubting what Georgetown can do as it is saying, but you know what? Campbellsville may be in a good position now. Lindsey Wilson may have stepped back up and be in a good position right now. So I would say in picking another team, I don't think it's in any way doubting what Georgetown brings to the table. I think it's just a statement as to how strong now the Mid-South may be. And there are other teams that we didn't mention that really are stepping up. I think across the board, whether it shows up in the record or not. You've got 7 teams in this conference. I think across the board there is improvement in 2025, and we'll have to see how these things all shake out. So we'll see it from there. All right. I told Dave that we would be talking about receivers this week, and Dave, I didn't lie. Got a little bit of a late start tonight on the show, but I did not lie. We have videos that we've had here on Midwest Sportsnet for a number of years, and just some, standalone videos in which they show like top 5 quarterbacks or top 5 receivers, top 5 running backs, top 5 linebackers, things along those lines. We chose to do a lot more previews with coaches this year, and so now I'm talking about a few of those position players that are returning to their teams for 2025. And, there are some new receivers who have transferred in. There are some new receivers that are stepping up to fill the shoes of someone who had a good year last year. Here are some of the top receivers that are coming back to their teams who did have good seasons last year. How about Matthew Holthusen from Southwestern? Now, there are questions that go along with these. Who's going to throw on the ball? Braden Howell is gone. And Southwestern sometimes coach is a little bit reticent to name names. So I get it. Coach Griffin has his way of doing things. Sometimes he's a little reticent to name names. So we don't know exactly who's going to be throwing Holthusen the ball this year. But last year he had 1,160 receiving yards, 16 receiving touchdowns, and picked up 15.7 yards with every reception. He comes back, and he comes back strong. And no matter who throws him the ball, he's going to be a fantastic target. I think there's another person that we really don't want to go too far along in this list without mentioning, but the question is there as well. Gerald Monroe. We've talked about him. He's no secret on Midwest Sportsnet. Cade Ross is gone. Now, Luke Dodd, Brett Hamilton, both saw some time on the field last season, but not a lot. I mean, it's been Cade Ross's team since he's been there when he wasn't hurt, obviously. And so we'll see if it's Dodd, if it's Hamilton, somebody coming out to be able to throw Monroe the ball. And I think like Holthusen, Monroe is one of those receivers that, man, you get someone up there better than average. He may not have to be NAIA Player of the Year, but you get someone up there better than average, he's going to find Monroe. And Monroe's going to find the ball. And he's going to find a way to bring that in. Gerald Monroe last year played only 10 games, 8.4 receptions per game. That was third in the NAIA last year. 1,562 yards, 156.2 yards per game. Both of those tops in the NAIA last year. 22 receiving touchdowns for Monroe. Tops in the NAIA last year. I think a thing, though, that if there is any area where you look at it and you say, this could be an issue, not just a new quarterback, but Jamon McGlory was 1,000-yard back for Graceland last year. He's expended his eligibility. He's not there. He was able to take maybe a little bit of a pressure off of Monroe because they have to respect the run game with him there. Who's going to step up in that category? Because we all know that Monroe is the real deal. He's going to draw a defenders, an entire side of the field. So still think he is the top returning receiver there for that. How about Isaac Smith, the Mid-States Football Association Mideast Offensive Player of the Year last year? Kyle Antoine's gone for Indiana Wesleyan. We have heard Coach Rohde say that Arjun Lothi is going to be likely stepping into that position. We'll find out pretty quickly. They take on Kaiser, hosting Kaiser in that first game of the season, week 1. Smith last year with 1,115 receiving yards, 14 receiving touchdowns, 13 yards per reception. That was a pretty big deal for him, and he is a strong player there. I think definitely one of the top returning receivers, as is Eli Norse. Now, probably the first one of this group that is bringing back someone who's been there and thrown the ball before. Michael Palandri, the quarterback for Montana Western, he's solid. He's proven, and Eli Norse was his top receiver last year. Norse with 1,226 receiving yards last year, 12 receiving touchdowns, 13.7 yards per reception. there's no question that he is among the tops in the NAIA this season. He'll make some noise in the Frontier Conference and definitely will draw some defenders his direction as well. And one more, Drew Selland. It's tough to talk about Morningside, as we said earlier in the broadcast tonight, without talking about the offense for the Mustangs. And there's almost always a stellar quarterback, and there's almost always one or two stellar receivers, definitely one coming back this year, and Drew Selland comes back last year, 8.6 receptions per game. That's tops in the NAIA. 129.8 yards per game. That was second in the NAIA behind only Gerald Monroe. 17 receiving touchdowns last year, second in the NAIA, also behind only Gerald Monroe. Drew Selland does have his name in the record book for Morningside already from a performance last year in which he caught 18 passes, 18 receptions in a single game for Drew Selland last year. So he definitely is someone to watch for. And again, another proven commodity in that quarterback spot. Zach Chevalier coming back. Chevalier, 4,682 passing yards last season, tops in the NAIA, as were his 45 touchdown passes, and 17 of those, of course, went to Drew Selland. Of course, Chevalier could sling the ball around, find different receivers as well. Selland is coming back for another season, and it should be a strong year for him. I have Morningside picked at the top of the GPAC, and having Chevalier to Selland is no small reason for that. Definitely one of the top reasons that they're going to be at the top. And again, I have them winning the title in 2025. So there we go. Wanted to talk about those things tonight. I also wanted to mention that Midwest Sports Saturdays start next week, and it's going to be a Thursday night trip to Olathe, Kansas, to watch Nelson and Mid-America Nazarene. And in light of that, we won't be doing our Thursday night show on Thursday night. So next week, it's going to be a Tuesday night show for our first weekly preview of the year. So next week, 2 live shows from here on out for the rest of the year until late December, I believe. And who knows, we may do 2 live shows a week talking about NAIA football specifically during that time. But next week, it's going to be a Tuesday night show. Tuesday at 8 o'clock, we'll preview week 1 of the NAIA football season. And then we'll be Midwest Sports Saturday on a Thursday. It happens. We do it often enough, but we're keeping the name Saturday in there on a Thursday from Olathe. And then Sunday night will be college football this week once again. And we'll talk about the top 5, and we'll talk about more. That'll be on Sunday night. So 2 live shows next week, Tuesday, Sunday, and then, of course, Midwest Sports Saturday on a Thursday. So we're going to be in Olathe on August 28th. We'll be in Durant, Oklahoma, to watch Southeastern and Arkansas Monticello, because we do cover some Division II as well here. That's a Thursday night. September 6th, we'll be in Oklahoma City. That will be coverage of a volleyball match on that Saturday morning. And then September 13th, we know these 4 dates are locked in. We'll be in Waxahachie, and we'll see Nelson again, both football and volleyball, over the course of that day. Now, I want to wrap things up tonight. And I did know it was going to be a bit of a shorter show here tonight. Okay. Tool Envy says Grandview returning 7 of 22 starters. Follows that up with, hard to think they won't be there again. I'm assuming you're talking about the national championship. So it would be really hard to bet against them. I'm just saying, it would be really, really hard to bet against them. All right. Well, we wanted to wrap things up tonight, and I am so happy that NAIA football is back. I'm absolutely thrilled that NAIA football is back. I am so thrilled that I came up with a top 10 list as to why we here at Midwest Sportsnet are ready for NAIA football in 2025. So stick around with me for this one, and I hope that some of these things hold true, near and dear to your heart as well. Top 10 reasons why we at Midwest Sportsnet are ready for NAIA football in 2025. Number 10, the NAIA just keeps on upgrading. The NAIA continues to improve its product each year, And this year, it includes more streaming opportunities. So that means more college football on Saturdays, much more NAI football on Saturdays. I am so stoked about this. This is going to be fantastic. So that is great. Number 9, keeping up with NAI conferences is so much easier than keeping up with NCAA Division I conferences, and they just make more sense. Seriously, California and Stanford in the Atlantic Coast Conference, I mean, the geniuses that put this together clearly failed 7th grade geography, and it just doesn't make sense, period. So I know it's all about the money with those guys, but whatever. Give me NAI conferences right now. Number 8, the Terry Harrison factor. It's a real thing. It is definitely one of the reasons we're ready for NAI football right here. Follow Terry Harrison and just see what he does. The Terry Harrison factor is a real thing. The number 7 reason is that means that cooler temperatures are on the way. And I don't know about the state that you're in, but in Oklahoma, they just can't get here quickly enough. So NAI football means that cooler temperatures are definitely on the way. Top 10 reasons why we here at Midwest Sports Net are ready for NAI football in 2025. Number 6, it's not the WNBA. You can fill in your own joke there if you want to. Lots of them write themselves, so that's all right. We're going to go just leave that as it is. Number 5, because of the greatness of the Frontier Conference, people who watch college football really care a lot about what's happening in Montana on any given Saturday, and definitely so. The Frontier Conference is great. Shout out to those people who cheer for the Frontier Conference. Yes, that includes you, Henchman 21. And we care about football in Montana because of you guys. Number 4, there is no transfer portal in the NAI. It just doesn't exist. Now, that's not to say that there aren't transfers in the NAI, and there have been a few lately and seem to be a few more, maybe as much, but it's not as often. And it feels a whole lot more like you're cheering for your team in the NAI than just cheering for laundry. Number 3, it means that a new season of Midwest Sports Saturday is almost here. And I am so stoked about that. Love making the trips for Midwest Sports Saturday wherever we go. And you know, we're spreading out more and more each year. We're driving farther and farther away from Studio B here. And now Mrs. Midwest Sports Net's getting to go with me on a few more of these, so I'm totally stoked. Number 2, top 10 reasons why we here at Midwest Sports Net are ready for NAI football in 2025. Number 2, it means I'm going to get to say the word Chevalier many times over the next few months. Seriously, it's a really cool word. I'm excited about that. And the number 1 reason that we here at Midwest Sports Net are ready for NAI football in 2025, there is nothing in the world like college football. And the NAIA and NAI football may be the last holdout for college football in its purest form. And we're here for that. We're excited about NAI football in 2025, and I think that it's going to be fantastic. So anyway, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed that list, and I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. So next week, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, and wherever the Henchman time zone is, that's fine. Thursday, we're going to be in Olathe, and I believe that the show will start at 4 o'clock Central. We're going to be in the Central time zone. I believe it's going to be a 4 o'clock Central time. We'll be there for that game from Olathe, and we'll definitely keep you updated over the course of the evening. It is week 1. It's a Thursday night. You're going to dig it. Next Sunday, we will be back with college football this week. Not this Sunday, 3 days from now, but 10 days from now. College football this week. We'll talk about the top 5 performances of the week and so much more. And it would be so great if you were a part of that show as well. So come on, get in the chat, talk to us. We'll talk with you, and we will have a very good night. Dave, man, I'm glad you're on tonight. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Some of you guys hung on when we had the Oliver the Cat trying to take down our show for tonight, but you stuck around and you stayed with us when we got on the air. So I want to say that if you're still watching tonight, Tool Envy, Dave Sellen, Henchman, And let's see, Casey came on with us tonight as well. Thank you all for being in the chat. Appreciate you guys watching, all of you tonight. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do that. Be a part of the community with us. I would enjoy that. Mrs. Midwest Sports Net appreciates that as well. And all of us here at Midwest Sports Net, we'd appreciate that. So definitely subscribe to the channel and be a part. And if you are watching and still watching the replay, you're a trooper. You're an absolute trooper, and I thank you for sticking around that long. So Henchman ready to go. Absolute ready to go. Tool Envy ready for some night games. Dave, I think you're just probably ready for some football. And wow, what a big one you guys have coming up in 9 days. And we're definitely going to talk about that one. Morningside and Benedictine, that is coming up too. All right. It's the Copper game too down there, Henchman. You guys, Montana Tech and Montana Western, that should be a lot of fun. So lots on the way, and we're here for it. We are absolutely here for it. Thank you for watching college football this week tonight. I'm not sure exactly when the next time I'll see you. There could be another video or two between now and Tuesday, but definitely 5 days from now, I'll be back here on Midwest Sportsnet, and we'll do this again. And I'll do my best to make sure that the cat doesn't keep us off the air. God bless you all. Sure is so good to visit with you each and every night. You guys have a great night.